Well, hello everyone. This is Bridget at Tanglewood Nature Center. It's not currently raining, and I figured it might be a nice day to get to know our hedgehog. So I shared a video of her last week, a slow-mo clip, which was hysterical, of a behavior called self-anointing that hedgehogs do. And I love it because it's just the weirdest. It's so funny and bizarre. But I figured I should share a little more of this one's background, what her life history has been, what her species is up to. And since it's not raining, I figured I'd give her a chance to stretch her legs and explore a little bit. So this is Lady Glitter Sparkles, our hedgehog. And we got her while the Nature Center was closed during the, phases 1 through 3. But now that we're open, I'm going to let her explore a little bit. And then you are all extremely welcome to come visit her at the Nature Center now that we are open again. All right, so Lady Glitter Sparkles, African pygmy hedgehog. Extremely cute. She's curled up right now, and you can kind of see her little schnoz in there. Hedgehogs have very good hearing, and they have very sensitive noses. And she can tell that she's being held by someone who is talking loudly from a distance of about 8 inches away from her. So that's what's making her kind of nervous right now, is being held and talked at. So she's doing a kind of classic hedgehog protective or defensive behavior of rolling up into a ball. It is pretty cool when they do that. You can kind of see from the side, their little quills, they can actually clench their skin, and the quills kind of cross each other. They make a crisscross pattern. And then the hedgehog makes almost like a little sneeze or a little convulsion gesture. And if you were a predator, most predators try to pick up prey items with their mouth. I'd spit her out. I don't think I would continue to hold her. I'm wearing gloves right now to protect my little skin. So I'm going to put her down. You'll notice her probably do a little bit. There we go. Some more little convulsions, crisscross little skins trying to get me to go away and leave her alone. And I'll gently roll her over here, and I'll back off a little. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. And we'll let her get comfy. And as she gets comfier, she'll uncurl and probably go for a little bit of a walk. There we go. So she has kind of a cool color pattern. You can tell she's piebald. She has a nice big splotch of white, and then she has brown skin over the rest of her body. And her quills are kind of an ombre color, so pretty stellar. They start out brown closer to the skin on the brown sections, and then end up with white tips. On the piebald sections, they're just kind of white quills throughout for the most part. There we go. Come on, buddy, you can do it. In her defense, she's nocturnal. I'm going to back up a smidgen more so that she feels a little more confident. In her defense, she is a nocturnal animal, so she would be awake all night and asleep all day. So a ginormous stranger did just show up while she was sleeping and liberate her from her house, bring her outside and put her down. I, too, would probably be a little cautious if I were an animal the size of a large pear who had been kidnapped from a dead sleep. So these hedgehogs, the African pygmy hedgehogs that we have, are just one of 17 species of hedgehogs. There are hedgehogs in Asia, in Europe. They're pretty common in the UK, toddling around the hedgerows, eating slugs. So they're good friends for gardeners in the United Kingdom. There's also hedgehogs from Africa, and these guys, the African pygmy hedgehogs that are the most popular in the pet trade in the United States, they're kind of native to a swath across Africa that runs from kind of Senegal across the country to just under Ethiopia. So kind of the middle band of Africa. And they do pretty well in a variety of habitats, in forests and grasslands. They do like it warm, so today is good hedgehog weather for her. It's, 80 and kind of humid. Because New York is often cold. If you were to get a pet hedgehog, you would have to commit to making sure that you could keep their cage appropriately warm for them. So between like 75 and 85 degrees, so that they can stay cozy and they don't get any poor health or health stressors from getting too chilly. She's thinking about waking up. She is. I see it. Oh, you can kind of see the soft fuzz underneath. Oh, I'm sorry. I jinxed it. So yeah, these hedgehogs are a really interesting bunch, and they make a nice animal ambassador for us because we can talk about different mammalian hair adaptations in our programs, and we can compare them to our native quilled animal, the porcupine. And kids can pet this one. You can't pet a porcupine. It is not recommended. So for those of you wondering what some of the differences between hedgehogs and porcupines are, one, of course, there are no hedgehogs native to North America, period. We have our native porcupine instead. There's a pretty big difference in size. This little hedgehog is, kind of large pear-shaped, maybe a little bigger than a softball. Versus the porcupines, which can be up to 3 feet long from snout to tail and can be, upwards of 20 pounds. So porcupines are much bigger. There we go. The quills are also really different. Okay, I think she's rooting around. She's stuffing her nose into the grasses and the dirt and kind of snuffling. So we might get to see some more interesting behavior as she sort of wakes up and starts smelling the world around her. But the quills are really different between porcupines and hedgehogs. So hedgehogs have very straight, short quills. You can see them on Lady Glitter Sparkles right now. And they don't have any barbs at the end at all. So, and I'll show you guys at the end of the program. I can pet her with my bare hands and nothing happens. It might be a little surprising. That's what I tell kids a lot when they pet her. It will give you a surprise, but it's not going to hurt you. It won't get stuck in your skin. It won't stab you. You won't bleed. But it is a pretty effective defense because it definitely feels, stiff and a little uncomfortable when you touch it. Not dissimilar to if you were trying to put your hands on a hair comb, Oh, there we go. There's a face. Oh, she's doing it. So this is the self-anointing behavior she did last week. She found a smell that she really loves in that grass. And she's like, you know what I need to do? Make myself some hedgehog perfume. So she kind of chews up the smell that she really likes, or a novel smell, sometimes if it's just new and interesting. And then she will kind of froth it up in her mouth and then put the little frothy new hedgehog perfume on her shoulders. So scientists think maybe it's for kind of a scent camouflage, or maybe they just like the stink, Some of us like to have a signature scent. All right. There we go. She's thinking about exploring some more. Again, I did wake her up from a complete steady slumber and transplanted her outside. So I can't blame her for being grouchy. She got woken up from a pretty comfortable sleep. So quills. So that's for hedgehog quills. They're a little stiff. You certainly, if you were gonna pick her up with your mouth like the typical predator, let's say a jackal, it wouldn't be a very comfortable sensation in your mouth. You'd probably spit her out. So they're effective defense that way. But they're not dangerous. They're not going to embed themselves in your skin, nothing like that. For the porcupines, which are native to New York and Pennsylvania, and we do have them on our property here at Tanglewood. Every once in a while someone sees one. Porcupine quills are a different beast. Those quills have barbs at the end. So if you could imagine the serrations on a knife, right? If you have a knife that's serrated, the pressure along the knife blade helps the knife cut much more effectively than a dull blade. The porcupine quills have little barbs at the end that are angled backwards, and they also help the barb when it hits the skin of a predator. They help the quill move through the predator's skin much more easily. Unfortunately, porcupine quills, once they do touch a predator's skin, or an accidental skin in the case of a lot of our dog noses, once they touch the skin, they are able to move through the skin really quickly. And the barbs kind of help the quill move further and further into the skin, but they can't be slid back out that way. So they can actually, porcupine quills can move through the skin as quickly as 1 millimeter per hour. So if your dog does get a snoot full of quills, or if you were to encounter a porcupine yourself, you would definitely want to go see your respective vet or doctor, human doctor, as quickly as possible, because the longer the quills are on you, the faster and the farther they are working in through your skin. But you know, the barbs aren't all bad. There are actually some medical studies that are looking at how the quills are so effective at passing through the skin, and they're looking for kind of some of the physical properties that we might be able to use on our own hypodermic needles for injecting medications or vaccines. Or in one case, which I was pretty interested in, they were looking at whether or not wound dressings for human patients might be able to borrow some of the physical structures of a quill, so that those little barbs would help perhaps a wound dressing stay on the skin, so that, you know, maybe a burn victim, the skin graft would adhere more closely and it would stay on and it wouldn't be inclined to fall off. So there might be some really good, you know, medical science and medical knowledge derived from porcupine quills. Instead of what most of us think of them as, it's just terrifying, painful things to avoid. Here we go, we got a little nose popping out. The number one myth that people always hear about porcupine quills and about hedgehog quills is, can they shoot them? Can they throw the quills? Can they shoot them at people? And the answer is no. For hedgehogs, we got a hedgehog booty. She's turning around here. There we go. For hedgehogs, the quills are more tightly attached anyway. They shed them, kind of like you and I shed our hair, or dogs shed hair, cats shed hair. When the follicles are old, they kind of fall off, but they're not able to throw them really. And then for porcupines, they can't throw them either, but porcupine quills are very lightly attached. I'm sure most of us know a friendly cat or dog in our lives where you run your hand down their back and you're like, oh my gosh, look at them shed, and the hairs just come flying off. It's not that dissimilar for porcupines. If you were to try and pet a porcupine, they would shed all over you. It just so happens that their shed has barbs at the edge, so not a very comfortable animal to pet. There we go. There's a nice snoot from Lady Glitter Sparkles. So while she roots around a little, oh my gosh, she's so cute. You can kind of see she has ginormous ears relative to her head. Her hearing is pretty good. She has kind of round, beady eyes, some people would say. Her vision is not very good, but it doesn't really need to be. She's nocturnal and she has really good hearing and a very exquisite sense of smell. So she mostly uses her ears and her nose to navigate around her world at night. And navigate they do. These guys are actually very active. They will walk and run for miles every single night. They have pretty large territories, and they are pretty active hunters at night. So they'll go running, snoodling around, trying to catch and gobble up tasty insects. They're insectivores for the most part. So they'll eat everything from worms and slugs to beetles, anything that strikes their fancy. But they'll do quite a lot of running and digging to go get it. They're really active. If you were to have one as a pet, you would have to kind of fundamentally understand that you're getting a nocturnal animal, so they will not be awake when you are, for the most part. And they will need to run a marathon every single night. So a lot of us get wheels for the hedgehogs so that they can run on their wheel and keep themselves in good shape. Well, you can kind of see her little feeties. She might step towards us. They have very good digging toes, nice claws that are curved in to help them dig through the soil and find the tastiest worm or grub or beetle to eat. and they have pretty sharp teeth. I don't know if we'll get to see hers or not today. Maybe. When she licks, sometimes you can kind of see them. Or occasionally she'll stick her snout straight up in the air and you can kind of see her teeth. They have 44 very sharp teeth. It's not that different than like a cat mouth in there, just small. Snoodle is a scientific term. Whoever at Tanglewood is also watching and commenting. There we go. She's getting a little warmed up. They are surprisingly good swimmers. They don't like to be submerged, of course, and if you think about their habitat being kind of that central belt across Africa, there's not that many ginormous bodies of water there. So they can cross a river, you know, they can swim a little bit. They enjoy paddling about, but they don't like being submerged, and they don't like having to swim very long distances. So, you know, if you're gonna bathe your hedgehog, which sometimes after they anoint themselves with extremely stinky things, you might need to. I might have to if she puts much more froth on her today. You want to use warm water, make sure that their feet can touch the bottom, and then you can use a toothbrush. I might have to adjust here. She realized how close she was getting to me and she was like, no, I have some regrets. There we go. So you can use a little bit of a toothbrush or another soft brush and brush along in the same direction as the quills just to get any yucky froth off of them. There she's going. Now we're getting confident. You can see her underbelly is a very soft fluff. And when hedgehogs are born, they're called hoglets or piglets, which is extremely cute. When they're born, of course, their mom doesn't want to be spiked, and she's a mammal, so she's going to nurse them. You don't want to be spiked while you're nursing. That's not a good feeling. That's not a good way to bond with your mama. So when they're born, they actually come out with a loose layer of skin around them that protects their mom and their siblings, so they don't spike their siblings either. And then as they grow, they're born with around 150 little spines, and they're kind of softer. They haven't stiffened up as much. And then as they grow more spines, the spines get harder, and they lose that little protective layer around them. So they're ready to take on the world when they're at about the right age, when their mom no longer wants them cuddling up to her belly. Oh, those little toes, they're so cute. Boop. All right. Adjust a little bit again. Does anyone have any questions about our hedgehog? I'm happy to answer. Michelle, you are a good friend and a flatterer. I just enjoy sharing about the hedgehogs because they are such unique little animals. There's a schnoz. So they are fairly short-lived. I'm trying to think about the downsides of hedgehogs. If you were interested in getting one as a pet, there's a couple things you'd have to take into consideration. One, that they're going to be very active all night, so a squeaky wheel might keep you awake as they run a marathon every evening. You have to be comfortable feeding insect diet to these guys. There are specially formulated hedgehog diets, but they also really enjoy eating crickets and mealworms. And not everybody wants to keep bugs in their house or their workplace, though we do at Tanglewood. And they do have kind of short lifespans. They do tend to live about 5 years on average. Some live as long as 8 or 10. Oh, that's a good face. Oh, we got the froth. Look at her go. I'm sorry for laughing at you, but it is so funny to me. It's just a little green, frothy, toothpaste-looking hedgehog perfume. So great. And, you know, you would think the quills would make it pretty clear to people, but a lot of people still want to cuddle with their pets. That's why a lot of us like domesticated animals that seek out contact with us, recognize our faces, like to see us. You know, your pony will come running up to you at the end of the day, excited to see you, excited for your grain bucket and some grooming and pets. These hedgehogs will never really be that level of excited. They're just not that domesticated. So they're not gonna want to snuggle with you very often or for very long at all. And they are also not very comfortable to snuggle with. But because some people do really like them, you know, and you can learn a lot from an animal without having to pet it, there are more and more hedgehogs available as pets these days, and there are more and more vets taking care of them. They've learned a couple of things to keep an eye out for. Some hedgehogs can have mites, a little parasite that you want to keep an eye out for. And cancers are getting a little more and more common. Wow, now we're picking up speed. Look at her go. Look at that booty in action. She's hustling. I read that they can go up to 7 feet a second. That's their top speed. And I think she's really cruising. She's about 10 feet away from me now. Good job, Lady Glitter Sparkles. Nice job. I might have to turn you around, though. All right, quick adjustment. Doop, doop, doop. Oh, yeah, she saw my shadow and she got a little nervous. There we go. So you can see I can pick her up with my bare hands. It's not gonna hurt me. It's not gonna hurt her. But it is, you know, the pressure of a large pair resting on all of those little hairs. There we go. Hey, kiddo. Go explore. We'll get comfy again. It might take her a second to warm up again. She has about 3,000 hairs on her body, which is a lot, of course, but not nearly as much as our native porcupines, who have 30,000 quills all over their bodies. She changed her mind. She's coming out. And if you look at their spines, if you're able to see an x-ray of them, and I might be able to share one in the comments after I finish the live video, their spine is really nicely adapted to help them do that curling up defensive posture. So it's actually quite difficult for her to hold her head up very high. She can't look up very successfully. But she's a really cool spinal adaptation for curling up into that little roll. And unlike Sonic, she can't travel rolled up. She can't ball herself up and roll and roll and roll. She does have to do that little ambulatory stroll with her feet. She's really taken off. Are they related to groundhogs? That's a great question. Thank you for asking. No, not really. Her closest cousins would be moles and shrews, and they're not closely really related to groundhogs at all. But our native porcupines are. They are in the rodent family. Just very large rodents. Rodents of unusual size. Woo. You ran into the phone there, honey. That was on you. Any other questions about our little hedgies or our native porcupines? Wow, we're really cruising now. Yeah, like I said, they can cover territories of miles. They really do enjoy running. She's having a grand old time. Oh, where are they native to? Fantastic. These guys, so there are 17 species of hedgehog. We have an African pygmy hedgehog, and that's the most popular in the pet trade. Oh my gosh, look at her go. Land speed records. The African pygmy hedgehog is native to kind of the central belt along the middle of Africa. So from Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, over through underneath Somalia. They're not really in the desert, they're not in the Saharan chunk, but in the grasslands, forests, scrublands south of that. But there are hedgehogs from all over the world except North America. Hedgehogs are native to Asia, Europe, Africa. They're fairly common in the United Kingdom. There is a very funny saying from the ancient Greeks that the fox knows many tricks and the hedgehog just one good one. There's also some really interesting myths in China about hedgehogs carrying food on their backs, like little berries and leaves that they would stab onto their quills and then kind of carry them around as a walking buffet. And that's not a behavior that they actually do on purpose. I'm sure things do get stuck on them. Goodness knows we've all had snarls in our hair and accidentally found, leaves and stuff. It's just part of living an adventurous life, I suppose, hiking around in the world. But they don't carry food on purpose. They might just get stuff stuck in there. Instead, they prefer to dig for their insect food. Wow, we're gonna have to turn you around again, honey. I'm sorry. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Not happy about being carried. I'm so sorry. Also, I'm trying not to juggle you too much. Let's see, can we show off your tummy to the people? The tum! You can kind of see her little digging claws there and her little schnoz. And the softer fur on her belly, of course. Like all mammals, she has these hair and fur covering at least part of her body. She's warm-blooded, like mammals, like you and me. And they give live birth and they nurse their youngs. So we have much more in common with them than we do with, say, our birds. Does the mother carry them? Not on her back. I suspect that would be uncomfortable for everybody. So not like an opossum, no. Though again, when they are born, they have much less stiff quills, so they are softer and they can snuggle up to nurse from mom without spiking her. Wow, you do need a bath, my friend. You can kind of see from her previous perfume applications above her nose. We got some junk built up there. Okay, you want to go down? I'm sorry. So I'm happy to answer other questions about hedgehogs or porcupines. You'll have to come to the Nature Center to come visit Lady Glitter Sparkles if you want to meet a hedgehog in person, because again, they're not native to North America. But you can also go visiting the porcupines, with whom they are so easily confused despite being very different shapes and sizes. Porcupines do enjoy climbing trees, so one great way to find them is to look up as you're hiking. Because they can be 20 to 30 pounds and up to 3 feet long. They're pretty substantial animals. They're easy to find on a branch that way. Fairly quiet, but pretty big. And they eat a lot of tree bark and the interior layers of trees. They'll kind of peel the bark down and chew on the insides in the winter. And in better seasons, the porcupines will eat just about any leaf, berry, or plant matter that strikes their fancy. So they're pretty active nowadays. Porcupines, also mammals, also nurse their young. Definitely don't carry them either. But they only usually have one baby porcupine at a time. Twins are very rare. So porcupines usually just have one kid per season to carry to hang out with mom. until they're ready to strike out on their own. All right, well, I'm gonna let this silly hog stroll around a little bit. She's having a grand time stretching her legs. Oh, how many in a hedgehog litter? Fabulous. They have more children. Let me look that up really fast. That's a really good question. Dun, 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 dun. And they are quite solitary when they're not with their mother. That part I know. 4 to 7, once or twice a year. That's a great question. So up to 2 litters a year, and they do have siblings to compete with for mom's milk supply. But then once they have weaned and they're ready to head out on their own, they live solitary lives the rest of the year. Now we're going to wear a glove like a hat. They are burrowers and diggers as well. There's a couple of species of hedgehogs that can dig holes up to 20 inches deep, which when you consider that the hedgehog herself is about 3 inches high, that's a pretty big hole. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed getting to know Lady Glitter Sparkles. Again, definitely feel welcome to come visit. The Nature Center is open 9 to 4. Tuesday through Friday. We are closed weekends through the summer, but that will change in September. We'll reopen on Saturdays again. And if you think of any questions in the meantime, drop them right in the comments. I'll keep an eye on them and do my best to answer. I've really enjoyed some of the tricky questions you all have asked on previous lives. I've learned a lot looking up the answers, which has been a blast. So thank you for loving our animals and learning with us. Have a wonderful day. It's not raining currently, so, step outside and enjoy the sunshine while we have it. And all of us at Tanglewood would love to see you soon. Stay healthy, everybody. Come visit.